when I sort of think about oceans, I think about it in regard to how water is like air around the planet, but unlike air, water we don't sort of understand naturally, we intrinsically can't look through, we don't intrinsically breathe it in and out, it circulates around. It is not something that we have a domain over really. We talk about domains because we think about the fishing rights, but that is actually not what water is about. Water is something, the oceans is something far more dynamic and critical for the planet, and we can't necessarily apply what we can do with land and oceans. So that adds a complete different dynamic than, it's also something, if you like, the land was the easiest resource to kind of, in some ways, to put some management and governance around. The oceans is a much more tricky dynamic, and the challenge then for people like the Institute, which is trying to think long term, trying to think important rather than urgent, is how to add some dialogue around this really important aspect for the future. So I've been looking for someone, I mentioned to you last time, that would do some work in this area with the Institute, and luckily for us, and I hope luckily for James, James was identified and embraced this challenge, and that's how we are who we are today. So reading James' report, I kind of was starting to doodle around what I was thinking. And there was probably sort of two ideas. The first one was, well, what is the oceans? So is it using the human-centric versus sort of the ecosystem-centric? And those of you that are into environmental philosophy, I'm sure you'll have lots of far better words than that. But it's sort of that dimension. So the future of oceans is going to be whether we have a human-centric approach or whether we have a much broader approach. And on the other side of that is whether we're going to give the power for managing oceans going forward to a few people through, perhaps some sort of, I use the term autocratic very loosely here, but, or are we going to decide to have a much more representative, collaborative approach? And depending on those sort of matrix, I started sort of seeing, well, are we seeing it as a planetary treasure or a national treasure? Are we seeing it as a public treasure, or this concept of a treasure chest that we can go in and out of and take stuff from? So that was sort of one observation that I got from James' report. I'm sure there'll be lots of others. The second one, which is much more of a public policy one, I've been around for a wee while, and I really love public policy for my sons. Pushes on my buttons. I love to see frameworks and try to understand how to organise things. And it's I just love the machinery of government, and when it works well, it feels so good, doesn't it? And when it doesn't work well, it is clunky. And I sort of see the opportunity in this. So this was just another way of saying it. So if you see one institution versus many institutions, and the continuum stuff happening, versus one instrument versus many instruments, and that kind of gets you into this place of, so what are where am I going with this? Where do I think oceans fit? I think it's in this really disorganised, complex state. I couldn't get over number of legislation, number of regulations, number of government strategies, number of government departments that are in this ocean space. The budgeting sector process, the finance system, if you like, which I know a bit about, it doesn't have any way of trying to understand how much money, resources, government structures going on. So I would say that probably more than anything else I've ever seen, it's a really disorganised, complex framework for managing oceans. And once you sort of see that, well, obviously the counter is, one institution, one instrument. Well, okay, that's not going to happen. And it probably never should, because you've got to have this whole stakeholder process. So the other options is this concept of, so I'm saying, sometimes I come up with things, I think, we need a revolution. And sometimes things are in evolution. I think we need a revolution in regard to collaboration. I think we need evolution in regard to using the institutions and instruments that we've got a lot better. So these are sort of putting up so you can have an organised framework based around an overarching strategic instrument. So that's where you get into that whole EDS, looking at sort of policy framework, that, basically an ocean strategy. Well, this one's actually looking many instruments, one institution. Is there a place for having some sort of ocean department, or that actually takes leadership and is responsible and accountable, and everyone else feeds into that. And I sort of put that out there because, if we're here, we should sort of know, we're thinking really medium to long term, which direction we want to be going. And that's a long conversation, and this is just a start of it. This is another little out for James and I, so there are no ideas out there. So that's sort of the context of why oceans for the Institute, why we think it's a really important issue. It's also urgent, but if we muck it up, we go too quick, we could lose the fragility that we could lose. We could go back steps, we could revert to the jungle, using the previous Prime Minister's comment. So there's got to be this sort of collaborative, iterative, I think, approach.